Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of TEV. And by the way, this is our fourth one. And you could quote unquote say this is an anniversary of TEV, of the TEV podcast. Me and Chris been doing this for a month now. So
Yeah,
we can clap it up. We can clap it up. You know, we out here trying to be consistent with it, and we hope to be consistent from here on out. But Chris, I feel like we have some interesting things to talk about today.
I would agree.
As we always do, or at least
I hope we're entertaining, truthful,
yeah,
and
What's the last
valuable.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope that we're doing those things. And if not, feel free to leave something in the comment section. It could be good or bad. We don't care. We just want interaction. Truthful interaction, because that's what we represent here. And if you want to leave some laughing emojis, LOLs, whatnot, we'll take those too. But before we get into the topic, for today, Chris, could you please do the honor and tell us what the word of the day is?
Our word of today is beguile. That means to attract or interest someone, or it means to trick or deceive them. Find out which one we are trying to do here on the TEV podcast.
Are we trying to beguile you?
Probably.
Food for thought. Just
You'll see.
Yeah. But I guess we'll go ahead and talk about the topic now. Now that we have the word of the day out the way, and we beguiled you to, or persuaded you to continue watching with us. But today, Drake and The Weeknd, they have a lot to think about, as well for a Universal Music Group, which is the label that owns some rights to the music that Drake and The Weeknd and other musicians and artists such as Rihanna, Taylor Swift, and so forth. Basically, all the major artists that you could think of, they have the rights to it, and those artists are represented by the Universal Group. But they're facing a new challenge with the AI community. So, if you don't know what AI is, that stands for artificial intelligence. And basically, it's a simplistic way of saying that AI is going to take over the world and just, go on a rampage of creating new things.
Well, slow your horses. Not if Universal Music Group has anything to say about it, right? Like Calvin was saying, Drake and The Weeknd, they had a track recently released by an independent artist, and Drake and The Weeknd did not participate in that track. It was created by AI software that used their voices from previous works, and the artist that created that song, the AI song, put those lyrics and put their voices over those lyrics and created this popular song that garnered over 1 million views on SoundCloud and Spotify, I believe, before it was taken down. And Universal Music Group stepped in and saw to it that they did not profit off of that song, off of the artist names that are on their label, and that's caused a big rift in the music community on what the next steps of monitoring AI music is, whether it can exist in this space. So it's definitely up in the air right now, I would say.
So let's go ahead and dive into this conversation, man. Could you do the honors and bring us into the first order of business regarding AI technology and just this whole, mess that I would allegedly think, there that word again, Drake and The Weeknd would be feeling as artists right now, or.
Well, yeah, I think as a fan of Drake and The Weeknd, I heard the song. I don't even think I finished my first listen before I turned it off. Just was not a fan of it. Like I said, as a fan of Drake and The Weeknd, I appreciate the artistry that they have, their experiences that they put in their music. And part of that song was soulless and was missing some of that authenticity that I find in their music. So for somebody like me, I couldn't, I guess, listen or participate in this AI music, but a lot of people, like I said, millions of people found that song listenable and enjoyable, and had replay value. But I guess our question is, to what extent should fans be able to dictate music that they want to hear from their favorite artists? And does AI music cross that line when the artists themselves do not participate in the creation of that song or project or whatever it may be?
Well, I think just from a natural, just how the relationship between the artist and the fan is anyway, just from, just the history of musicianship and that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think they want that communication between the fans, the fan base, and the artist. If the fans are, let's say you at a concert and fans are saying, hey, sing this song, sing that song. Oh, I love this song here. I think that's good feedback for the artist, and artists can make note of that and be like, okay, next concert, we got to do this song. Or in the middle of the concert, we can do this song right now and let's run it.
Mm-hmm.
But does AI cross that line?
For me, yeah. Like I said, I think something about the authenticity is missing for me. It uses the voice, it may talk about similar subject matter, but if it's not from the horse's mouth, I particularly don't want to hear it. This is not my cup of tea when it comes to music and creativity.
So to clarify about this AI, artificial intelligence. So basically, it's like, just for the viewers and everybody that's listening, so basically the fan will be able to basically type in like a Google search engine equivalent to say to type how they want to type, talk how they talk, whatever, and simply put, I want to hear a Drake and The Weeknd mashup to this type beat, and the AI will generate essentially a song, like the Heart on My Sleeve.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of problems there for me. Again, from a fan standpoint, I do think that artists should cater to fans, but I don't think fans should create the cater for the artist. I think it's the artist's choice to choose what they put out, how they put it out, what they want to be a part of, and vice versa. And the fan is a fan, they should participate, engage, but not particularly put out music on the artist's behalf, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, the AI music does cross that line. It's very infringing upon creativity. It's just not, from an artist's perspective, not the most useful thing, I think, for progressing.
If I'm Drake or The Weeknd and I heard this song, I think it would be kind of quite flattering if I'm Drake. The fact that somebody would want to use my voice, or if I'm The Weeknd, someone would want to use my voice to make, art, as an extension of myself. But I could also see how that can be, disrespectful to if I'm Drake, that could be, I could find that as disrespect to myself.
Definitely.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I think in talking with some friends, I overheard them say that the flow and the cadence that The Weeknd did on that song was interesting, and they wish that The Weeknd would get into that more in some of his music. And that brought up a little interesting point to me about this AI music that's kind of innovative with how it uses the artist's voice in a way that they might not use it themselves, how it may push certain artists forward in the direction that the fans want them to go. Again, I don't think the way that they're going about that is correct, but I do think it may be helpful in pushing different sounds, putting artists in different lanes that they may not have been open to prior to those AI tracks. So I think there is, I guess, some potential good that could come from it, but I think as a whole, it's just too much of an infringement upon that creativity.
I don't think it, in regards to like does AI cross that line? When you bring up the point about pushing the artist to venture out into different things or different modes, different voicings, different cadences, I think it makes the fan base more intimate, if you will, to challenge the artist, to really have input in what the artist is going to make. Because it's a fine line when an artist is making music, making content with the constant notion of that they're making this for people, not only for themselves. Like, obviously they have to enjoy what they're making, but they have to enjoy it with the take of, okay, I hope this is good for the people, my viewership that is watching. And I think that the AI is invading that space of, okay, this is what it could sound like if I did this. If I'm Drake and I'm hearing this, I'd be like, this is not bad. I can do this myself, and I can implement this into my style. And maybe if it garnered this much support from the fan base, then if I'm Drake, I'd be like, okay, let me get behind this. Let me start doing something like that. So I could see from that standpoint how that could challenge an artist to be on top of their game, to evolve, if you will. And I think I was watching a podcast. I'm not sure which one it is, but Lil Wayne was talking about how he's able to, stay relevant in the rap game. And you got, new rappers coming out, they call mumble rap, if you will.
Old head.
Wow. But essentially, Lil Wayne was just talking about how he had to stay with the wave and change up the flow of what he used to do to stay relevant, if you will, in today's game of rap. So I kind of see it in that way, and it's not really different. It's just the fact that this is kind of scary in a sense, because you're literally, a person has the ability to copy someone else's voice. And if you think about this beyond just music, somebody could copy Joe Biden's voice and declare war, allegedly. But just on a safer level of music, it's kind of scary, like, to know that some random guy or woman can take your voice and use it for anything. However, just to stay on topic of what we were talking about, I do find it can be successful for artists.
I mean, I think thinking about it a little bit more, obviously if you're in a discussion about Drake, something like ghostwriting has to come up. So I think about reference tracks and how that whole process is done. I think, AI music could be useful for that. But again, I think some music, especially I guess in like hip hop and rap and R&B and soul music, that's expected to be passionate, expected to be expressive, representative of that person's experience. I don't know if that can truly be replicated with technology. So maybe more things like popular music may be able to have more success with this AI music, but yeah, I think that's where I stand on that.
I mean, well, just from a standpoint of technology, and I understand that the music industry is technology driven. If you look at some of these sound producers, engineers, sound engineers, and things of that nature, and when they go into the studio and they make the tracks and stuff of that nature, they are using advanced technology
Definitely.
to make that whole process as expedient as possible. Because this industry is about speed and who can get it out the fastest. And when you're able to manipulate time in order to get the same results as if, like, long ago when you just had to sit down and create the track, from scratch. You had to create the beat from scratch. You had to create the melody, the chord progressions from scratch. Now they have it to where you can download software to where you can like choose a chord progression that's already uploaded. You could choose a drum track that's already created. You don't got to hire a drummer anymore. You don't got to do all these things anymore. You can get, if you want saxophones in it, if you want violins in it, all those things are already pre-recorded. So I see this as something no different in regards to the technology aspect of it, which makes everything more efficient from, especially in the music industry. The faster they can do something, the better. And not only that, the faster and more quality it is, I think that's even better for the music industry. However, it's just about, do the music industries and UMG, do they see it as something that is, going to advance them?
The music industry has a very tough barrier for entry, and I think something like AI music kind of lessens that. It makes it a lot easier for people to come in, kind of be disruptors to something like a music label or a distribution company or a digital service provider. So I do think, in that sense, like there's a more welcoming environment when it comes to, I can put these AI drums over this piano loop and make my own beat, like in the blink of an eye. That's helpful to some people. But again, like there's, like you were saying, there's a lot of sound engineers that are, producing at that level now. This kind of creates a wider pool of artists that may not be producing the best music. That barrier for entry just lowers, and it may just make worse music overall.
Yeah. You look at history, when we was in elementary school and things of that nature, we learned about Beethoven's and stuff like that.
Yeah, Beethoven would never use AI music.
But the reality of it, Beethoven is dead. Quite actually, Beethoven is dead.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But my thing is, as time has progressed, you see a change in how things get done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that this is good per se, like the AI. I'm not saying that it is a good thing for the music industry right now, because I'm a drummer and I like to play things live. And if this is something that can, kind of be an exit for drummers, then I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But if this is like the new transition that's going to be the thing in the next 10, probably less than that, next 5, 10, 15 years, and everybody's doing it, then it'll be like how coding became a thing to learn. First it was, you got to learn how to type. Now it's, you got to learn how to code. Mm-hmm. Now you got to learn how to create a whole website or something like that. So this could be something that, as a musician, you got to learn. First it was probably like, you got to learn how to, read music theory.
Play an instrument or something.
Yeah,
like
play
that.
an instrument.
Kind of a necessity that, may be needed moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, with that, if that is a necessity, right? If more artists kind of transition to that point, how would you feel about your favorite artists, like needing or requiring AI music to put out songs? Will you still be a fan? Are you going to listen to those songs? What does that look like moving forward?
I think if the music is still vibey, I'll still listen to it. I'm a guy all about the vibes, That's what Brent Fire is.
Now.
I listened to the discography and I was quite impressed.
I was about to say, what if Lucky Day were to, make an AI album?
Unfortunately, you don't see what Lucky Day is capable of, but Lucky Day has some good music.
He's a talented artist.
And I don't think AI can create what Lucky Day.
I don't want to age shame Lucky Day, so.
Age is just a number.
I agree.
That's all age is.
No further comment from me. But yeah, I mean, you bring up like for me, like Drake. Drake is probably one of my favorite artists. So to hear that track made me take a step back, especially considering like his perception from the last couple of albums. People have not, I guess, been really receptive to his new sound and what he's trying to do, and I guess his progression that he sees that he needs to do within his music, that they're taking upon themselves to create what they want to hear from him, and that's an aspect that I don't really like. So again, I think it may be different if the artists themselves like may use AI as a reference or a ghost track, but yeah, it's still kind of dicey. I would have to hear what that sounds like for particular artists. Some people I just couldn't see that working for, like a Lucky Day, you said, this kind of authentic soul sound. So, some artists I just don't think that would work for them.
Yeah, someone like Drake, I could see it working for them because they're so mainstream. I could flip it that way, because they are so mainstream and they're getting into deals and they're here and they're there, they're catching a flight, switching time zones. They gotta maximize their time and become more efficient in their time throughout the day. So if there was a way for them to use AI in that way to their advantage, then more power to them, as long as they're getting credit for it and things of that nature. But for someone, as you mentioned, Lucky Day, and I would throw in there Brent Faiyaz, Jasmine Sullivan, and someone, beautiful singer, by the way. But for people like that, I think this is damaging for them.
Definitely. I hate to say true artists, but authentic artists.
Because they have live bands. They don't shy away from that. They want that live band feel, and it's much needed. But however, I will say it won't take. I don't think it will take away from. No, I don't think AI would ever take away from the vibe of a concert, in a vibe, in the feel of a live band. That the atmosphere changes with a live band.
Definitely.
And I don't think AI or any intelligence will ever, except human intelligence, that's the only thing that can change anything. I don't think AI has that ability yet, nor I don't think it will ever have that ability. Well, until some guy or woman proves me wrong. But I don't think it has that ability as of right now to change, artists such as, as I mentioned, the Jasmine Sullivans, Lucky Days, the Ushers, that thing.
Gotcha.
But yeah. But what do you think, man? You got any more thoughts on that?
No, I think we can transition into, I guess, the digestion of the modern artist and moving into a space where music technology is probably going to be a mainstay. It's probably going to look different for a lot of artists, but it may be, like you said, within sound engineering and production, it's probably here to stay. So, Michael Jackson didn't have to go through AI technology, AI songs, AI music. But something artists in today's time, even artists that are still relevant now that may have came out years ago, may have to adjust. Will that be a difficult transition for them? Will they be able to adjust? Is that?
Let me ask this. You brought up before I answer that question. You may have to restate that question again. Before we get too far off topic. But you brought up Michael Jackson. And what if we were able to use AI to use Michael Jackson's voice to make music?
Drake did that on his last on Scorpion. He said it was Michael Jackson, but it was The Weeknd. Allegedly. But yeah, I mean, I think we saw something like this earlier. You remember when the Tupac holograph came out, and they were doing live performances with like a video projection of Tupac, and people were like,
I haven't seen that, but I am familiar with like the hologram
concept,
technology and stuff of that nature.
Oh yeah, they did that concept, and I believe people were like, when they first saw it, they were like, "Oh wow, that's cool," and then it kind of got like worn out. Like it was like, okay, we've seen this once, we don't really need to see this again. And I feel like it may be a similar thing like that, like especially coming from like a legend like a Michael Jackson. Most people want to hear the real thing. So that first track that has a Michael Jackson AI sound on it, I think it may be cool for like the music geek that just wants to hear what Michael Jackson would sound like with Usher or something. I don't know, whoever.
I will say this though, and this I want people to hear it first on the TEV Podcast.
What's that?
And it's just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
So what if this can be a way to preserve legacy for artists
Mm-hmm.
and keep royalties and everything, keep going to the family, right? So just using Michael Jackson as an example, if they wanted to make a new song with Michael Jackson and get it copyrighted and everything, go through the proper channels, it could create more wealth for the family. It could, his 2 kids, and just the Jackson estate and whatnot. It's just food for thought and what they could do, and I think it'll be ethical and kind of cool if they could. But just using Michael Jackson as an example and just using that whole thing as an example. But, just throw that out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's dependent on a couple factors. One, and why we see UMG kind of up in a tizzy, is the fact that rights are kind of distributed between the artists themselves and the music label. So with an independent artist, you may see something like that, be able to be more viable. But for an artist that's in a contract with a label, there's going to be percentage cuts. The catalog is probably going to belong to the label most of the time. So that may not be as feasible. So I think that's kind of the interesting point about why UMG has kind of been in such an uproar and been contacting all of the the Apple Musics and the Spotifys and the SoundClouds to get this song's Heart on My Sleeve removed is kind of a fright, I guess, from them of the artists potentially being able to go directly to the service provider, the Spotify, with their song and not having to go through a label. Is a label obsolete with the introduction of something like AI music?
I won't say it's obsolete, but it could, depending on where they want to take AI, because it's a new landscape and they really don't have policies regulating AI unless somebody comes out and say, hey, they're using my voice. And that, I guess you could kind of use, copyright, if you will, or I don't know,
Copyright
impersonating. I don't know what, but something along those lines. That I'm pretty sure they could find some legalities to, take. If there was another example, like the Heart on My Sleeve type song in the future, they could find something to get it down from a legal standpoint. But to make something like UMG obsolete, I don't think so. But I think if I'm like the CEO of UMG, I would definitely see it as a threat to how much control I have over my artists, over the songs, over the masters, over the, just the whole, just everything. Because that it could infiltrate and, as we saw, steal someone's voice, Weeknd and Drake, to make something that's never been heard before and gain a following.
Or beguile some fans.
Yeah, beguile some fans and, trick them into listening to their music. And that's dangerous. I would see that as definitely a dangerous thing for UMG and other labels alike. You know, especially if it's going to take away viewership from UMG, which I think is, I'm not going to say impossible, but that's kind of hard to do because they do have so many artists out there right now. But if these artists, such as Drake, The Weeknd, find a way in other upcoming artists that UMG might want to sign, if these artists can find a way to gain any type of power and become more independent, and you kind of see this from artists now, like they use YouTube, or they might even post themselves their own music on Spotify or SoundCloud, whatever, and generate income from that themselves. But if AI is just another tool that they can use to gain, so UMG, they provide the money, they provide the marketing, provide the film, and everything that you can think of that an artist will need to thrive in everything. They got the connections, they have it all, right? And that's very ideal for a new up and coming artist. Like if I'm a new artist and I have nothing, yes, I would love to sign with UMG because they're going to provide me with money to do everything I need to do to make music for this company and make money, the most important thing for them and myself. And from that standpoint, you know, the cut is not, I don't think it's 50-50 unless you're someone like Drake or The Weeknd and you're at the top. But if you're a new up and coming artist with potential of a Drake or The Weeknd, then if I can make, I don't know who the guy who created Heart on My Sleeve, but if he was able to garner that much support, and let's say he was able to create like a YouTube channel or create a Spotify account and garner a huge following just from AI alone, why wouldn't an artist use that? If their primary objective is to gain followers and make money, why wouldn't a new up and coming artist use AI to make awesome music, quote unquote, get features or beguile the audience to make it seem like they have features with Drake or Amigos or whoever? Well, not Migos, but let's say Quavo now.
Rest in peace, Takeoff.
Yes, rest in peace, Takeoff. But, like, you know, beguile the fan base to say, hey, look what I've done with AI.
Mm-hmm.
I've created 20 songs within a month, which is hard to do, kind of impossible, you know, unless you're just grinding 24/7. But I feel like that's what is at stake right now.
Yeah, I think I allegedly, in my mind, I see Universal's problem with this being they have no way to profit off of it at the current moment. And I would assume that if there is a way for them to control or share profits between the digital streaming platforms and the artists who are creating the AI songs and the artists whose voices are being used, if there's any agreement that that's okay between all of them and that profits can be split between all of them, I'm sure that Universal they're never going to say no to money. Especially if, you know, that song, the Drake and The Weeknd song, getting millions of streams in a day, you know, that's a fair amount of money, and two biggest names of, you know, in music. So, you know, there's definitely a ploy for them to take advantage of this. Now, I think the fear of them, of a Universal Music Group or other big labels is, like you were saying, the possibility for independent artists to bypass them completely, and now they kind of have no control over the future generation of music, or the, you know, established artists kind of understanding that they don't need a label anymore they don't need the resources when I can cook up 20 songs in a month using AI.
I think that's been the trajectory for most artists anyway, like getting away from the label. There's, just throughout the music industry alone, we always hear about some type of conflict between the label
Contractual
and
issues,
and
album,
and
how
the
many
artist.
albums are left on the deal. And that's why I think it's very interesting the spot that the DSPs like Apple Music and Spotify are in. They kind of, to my, how I see it, I think that they have an ability to bypass the label and go direct to consumer with the artists themselves, right? But them conforming to Universal's rules right now kind of conflicts that idea. And I'm wondering, I guess, long term, what their plan is, what they believe they have to gain by conforming to that. And I think they can make more money by cutting the deal with the artist directly. So I'm very curious on why they feel the need to comply with UMG's requests, or legal reasons, obviously.
Talk more so like to take the song down.
Yeah, to take the song down. And like you said, a lot of these AI, I guess, laws and copyright laws are kind of moving into effect or trying to get formed now. So I don't know if, to see that action taken so fast and without any pushback was kind of weird to me. Definitely curious to see how that unrolls and unravels in time, and how this whole AI thing plays out within the artists, within the labels, within the service providers. There's definitely a lot of room for this technology to potentially take over music if it's put in the right position, or to completely, be X'd out from music altogether.
Yeah. When you talk about like Spotify and Apple Music and I guess iTunes and stuff of that nature, I guess it's just the license agreement, because Spotify and other DSPs have to buy or form some type of agreement or contract to get access to those licenses, to even have the music on their platform. Now, that's interesting if they're able to go straight to the independent artists. I'm not privy on that, on independent artists and how they can make deals with Spotify, but
it would just, I guess, a distribution type of deal.
Yeah, and they already got like platforms like that, like DistroKid, and I can't think of the other one, but basically DistroKid takes your content. If you're an independent artist, they take your content and disperse it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and stuff of that nature. So and they pay you from monthly listeners or whatnot. So that I guess that's the equivalent today for artists, independent artists, or even mainstream artists, to disperse their own content. But I don't know if not AI, but I don't know if companies like Spotify would be able to. I just don't know the dynamic and the relationship between the independent artists and Spotify to even do something like that. And then you bring up the notion about AI in the mix of all that as well. Now, if it's AI, if the independent artist is using AI for their own vocals, I'm all for that. But if you have regular people using AI to do the same, to make music, let's say Ariana Grande, for example. If you have a random person using her vocals to make new content and then try to post themselves as being an independent artist to Spotify and other platforms and trying to profit off that, I could see that as being problematic. But then that person could argue, well, I'm a creative as well. I'm an artist as well. I thought about this when the artist was not able to think about this.
Yeah, I think that's the battle. There is some, I guess, intellectual right that the artists have, and I think that's kind of seeing in things like samples and taking specific melodies and lyrics from different artists, where there is some compensation, of course, but it creates a whole other entity, a whole other song. It's not. It's under the artist who created its name, and not the original artist's name. So I think once those rules and regulations become a little bit more ironed out, we'll see if the AI artists, the AI creators can, I guess, maintain that same sentiment of this is mine, I made it, I just altered or I added my own spice to that. And they didn't look to beguile the listeners into thinking that it was the original artist.
Yeah, this is also problematic. Just because you have so many people. If this is going to be just as accessible as Google, this new AI technology to be able to access other people's voices.
And that would be, you're speaking to like a chat GPT of sorts. I think this is bigger than music, as you were saying.
Yeah, if that's the push, that they're gonna have to be very careful, and they're gonna have to make some type of regulation quick. Because if I'm Drake and everyone has access to my vocals, that's problematic. Because if they're making music if I'm Drake and I don't agree with that, I don't agree with the message. I don't even talk that way. That's just not me at all. Then yes, I could find that very problematic, making me say things that I don't say. It could be some perverted things that they could make artists say. And then because of the way that society is set up now, you can get canceled for a lot of things. It takes one person to make content that makes you cancelable. And if I'm Drake, look at Kanye, for example. He went from a billionaire to, I think he went back down allegedly to, I think 400 mil or something like that, which is still comfortable. But
a lot can change.
He did that to himself.
Yeah, a lot can change off for some unsavory actions. So like you were saying, this is bigger than music, with the implications of being able to, I guess, with like things like deep fake and voice altering, there's a lot of avenues that can affect people's personal lives, their livelihoods. So I think, with this being a relatively new technology, especially in such a digital, technology-driven age where everything is online, everything is, for the world to see, we definitely have to be careful about how this unfolds moving forward.
Yeah, and that's well said. I think everyone's going to have to walk on eggshells with this one. I think everyone's going to have to be held accountable, especially if this becomes accessible to the general public, to a person that has no form of music ability in their bone, in their DNA, to now becoming a Beethoven, if you will, and a master of music is for one unheard of just throughout history, and then two, I won't say unheard of because I'm not trying to discredit anyone's mental ability to learn music and learn how to play instruments or acquire the want or the will to be a singer. I don't want to discredit at all, and I would encourage people to learn a new hobby or learn a new skill, just to grow as a human being and challenge themselves mentally. But to do something like this overnight is just, I don't see how this is beneficial for society.
I'm even thinking back to, I'm not sure if you remember this, there was a metaverse rapper. It was created by some sort of AI. And I remember it was very controversial. And I'll start with the rapper, the AI digital metaverse rapper got signed to a major label, which is interesting considering, the newness of the metaverse, how impactful that may be in the next 50, 100 years.
Can you unpack this metaverse rapper? Like, are we referring to the same metaverse here?
I'm trying to remember the name. Let me do some quick research here. But yeah, I saw that this rapper got signed to a major label, which was weird to me, right? It's not a real person. The rapper's name was FN Mecca.
So this rapper is not a real person.
Not a real person.
Correct.
It's a virtual rapper.
A virtual rapper.
So that's so weird to say. And it was signed to Capitol Records, which is a pretty reputable music institution. And I remember it was very controversial because the virtual rapper said a derogatory term that's usually targeted at black individuals.
N-word.
Negus.
Negus. What is the language of origin?
Ethiopian to Amharic.
What is the definition?
A king. It's used as a title of the sovereign of Ethiopia. Negus.
Negus. Could you use it in a sentence?
The Negus ruled Ethiopia until the coup of 1974.
Negus. Could you repeat the definition?
A king. It's used as a title of the sovereign of Ethiopia. Negus.
Negus.
Andrew, would you say the word loudly for the judges?
Negus.
One more time?
Negus.
Negus.
Negus. Negus. Negus. Negus.
Absolutely stunned, but he'll take it.
N-word.
Oh yeah, and it was just it was created by AI technology, right? So I guess it fell into mold with what it believed hip hop themes and rap themes to be about.
Gotcha.
But again, it's not a person, and it's created by a technology that shouldn't particularly have the ability to cross that line. So I think that, to me, that kind of speaks to, I guess, the authenticity that I was speaking to earlier. When you have the ability to create music at this scale, at this, freedom with technology, the technology can only do so much. And that's what I guess you were speaking to as well. Like, this doesn't make a real artist, a live artist, somebody who specializes in that type of music, obsolete at all, because there's something that can't be achieved with this. And this has to be careful in that because it is competing with real people, real artists, people who, obviously their livelihood is behind this and not just some fad or something like that. So definitely gotta see how this unfolds.
Yeah. I think the ultimate thing, and I want to take this somewhere else, unless you had something else to. So basically where I want to take this is essentially the main focus of anything, of basically the main reason why people do anything. Well, I won't say the main reason, but it's like top 5, is obviously the financials and the finances. If you're someone like Drake, you're sitting pretty good. If you're someone like The Weeknd, you're sitting pretty good. But losing money is losing money, right? Mm-hmm. And if I'm some random guy, I will leave out descriptions of who this random guy could be, especially when it pertains to AI technology. And
that was another topic, I guess, that struck people the wrong way, is the race of the individual who's behind the virtual rapper. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that could be left to be unknown, and we'll just keep it at that. just think of a question mark when that it's an enigma, so we're not even going to worry about that. But the point is, what is someone like Drake to do if he's losing money on something that's not regulated, on something that is not controlled by the government, that's not controlled by anything, but it's controlled by the public or anyone that wants to change just art, at its simplest form.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I was thinking, they could receive royalties, as they already do from UMG. An additional royalty from, let's say they create like an app for this, right? They create an app to
that was
where
my next question.
to where if you want to be an AI music creator, okay, you have a subscription to this app, right? You heard it first here on TEV Podcast. We want a piece of the pie of that business, whoever starts it. But you create an AI music app for those creators. They pay maybe like $4.99, I don't know, $9.99 a month, or you could charge yearly. Doesn't matter. And whatever is collected, through that is, I guess, held in some type of, some account to where it will be dispersed to the artist. So you will have like a list or a bank, basically, essentially a memory bank of all these voices and things of that nature. So let's say you got a vocab of Drake, you got a vocab of The Weeknd, you got a vocab Taylor Swift, you got a vocab of Jay-Z, and you essentially click on their stuff, on that vocab, whoever it is, and you bought the rights to use their voice in your song.
Kind of like
Right.
like I guess producers, they have like drum packs.
Yeah,
something
you
like
just
that.
buy it and use it.
Yeah, even if it's from like originated from a specific artist, they sell that and you can use it. Now I think that kind of skews, I guess, the feature game of like what it costs to get somebody on your song.
That's extra.
Yeah, that's extra. But maybe like a Quavo ad lib or something might go for $50 on the sell that or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess a question that arises with like if there's a creation of an app that kind of houses AI music, I'm thinking of like even within an Apple Music, like a separate genre category for AI music. Like, does the music industry try to accommodate this if it cannot control it? Because like you said, there's money to be made there, obviously. And there is an audience for it. We've seen, not everybody, but a lot of people have, shown desire to listen to some of this music. I don't think you can, I guess, suppress it completely. It just won't be housed on the, Apples and the Spotifys. But can some other platform create a safe space for that? And at that point, I think the larger DSPs will have to accommodate if it is lucrative enough, and the labels will have to accommodate as well. So I think there is, I guess, room for that to have grow some legs and walk on its own. Not yet, of course. We'll see how the regulations and laws kind of fall into place, but it's definitely got some room for growth.
I see this is nothing but, history always like essentially repeats itself, and the old saying, nothing is ever new under the sun. This is no different than like people doing remixes, the stuff. But when they do that, they have to get permission. But the only thing about this AI is people are not asking for permission. I think that's the biggest problem. It's eliminating asking someone simply for permission. Hey, can I use your vocals, or can I use this
Well,
track or melody?
Yeah, I mean,
in my
I think
song?
the traditional means of doing that is, like, the barrier of entry to that is very high. Like, you need the network, you need the money, the backing, the relationships, right? So, like, the cheaper alternative, just
The
like,
ramen noodle alternative.
just like the bare minimum, that gets you in the door. I take that naturally, at least to get to, a point where I can get, a million views and people can listen to my other original work and stuff like that. So I do think, it is appealing to a certain audience, a certain creator demographic. Yeah, it's there.
Because even like when artists back in the day would like go shopping for records, like old records. I think Kanye has like a
he's one that
series on Netflix, and they kind of highlighted and pointed to that. And there's another Netflix series. I forgot what it's called, but it's like hip hop something. But it basically tells like the origin story of how people would, sample other people's music and buy the records and basically take the hook or take the some loop from it and make it and incorporate it in their song. So I see it as the same, if you will. It took more work because you actually had to go purchase the music. You actually had to go you had to take time to find the music.
Yeah, like that's the I guess the creative aspect that is missing for me is, even if you find like the OJ's record, you still need to chop part of it up. That still has to sound good.
Match it up with
there's still some
with the
work
key.
from the artist standpoint that needs to be done for the record to sound good. I'm not saying that's not the case with this AI created music, but it seems a bit less involved than you would want, obviously, from the artists that are being used and from the creator themselves. Yeah.
Well, it's like you said, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, if artists will be able to benefit from this. Hopefully, the artists that are actually still trying to stay true to the game and taking time to learn the craft, learn new genres of music to expand upon what they already are doing. Someone like Drake, I feel like he's already, you probably speak more to this than I can, but you say that he's very versatile. He can do anything. He can rap, sing, go Jamaican on you, if you will.
Patois.
Switch it up.
Excuse my Jamaican accent. I didn't mean that. Please.
But don't cancel Chris. He's trying.
He's trying.
But this is if you're UMG, this is a serious matter. If you're Drake, this is a serious matter. If you're The Weeknd, this is serious, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. However, this is an opportunity to seize on opportunity.
What does that mean? What does that mean for us?
Whoever wins. I mean, it's because this is new ground. It's opportunity for the common man to be able to create something. If nothing is done legally, then yes, that's opportunity for the common man to seize on. If you're Drake and a person like him with all the resources that you can have access to, if I'm him, I would be head over heels for it to see what I can do to maximize this for my benefit. And especially in what this is going to do is going to make the music industry very competitive. And it's already competitive as is, but this is going to make it very, very tough. Because even if I don't want to use Drake, and like Drake, just back to the previous example, Drake's vocab, in this hypothetical app, AI music creator app, even if I don't want to use Drake's and there was like an alternative voicing that I can use, or let's say I could speak into I could use my own voice and change the EQ on it and all these different things, add reverb and whatnot to make myself sound legit, and use my voice to type into this Google, quote unquote, if you will, search engine, which is the AI, to say, hey, make me sound like Eminem, but use my voice.
Yeah, like use Eminem's cadence.
Yeah,
use
yeah.
Eminem's flow.
Yeah, exactly.
All that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if that's going to be possible, then I just became the new Eminem, allegedly.
Yeah.
But allegedly through this app, this AI app thing. But that's competition. I mean, I think it's a lack of creativity to that. But I guess where a person would try to make an argument is, well, I was creative enough to, think of this artist, and I think my voice would sound just as good on this cadence, or my voice would sound just as good with these lyrics to produce a song. And then on top of that, they don't even have to use the same track. They just have to use the cadence and create a different track, which is easy to do nowadays.
I mean, I keep going back to the Ghostwriter with Drake, and Quentin Miller was his name. And Quentin Miller is a very talented writer, but I don't think he was received well as an independent artist himself. But Drake taking his lyrics, those records were chart-topping, right? And I think when you take some, there's probably a lot of talented artists who are amazing at writing songs, but may not be able to be the best vocalist or the best rapper, whatever it may be. I think, like you said, it kind of feeds into that competitive nature of, now I have access to a voice that can showcase my ability to put a song together, or to, showcase my rhyme schemes. It could only, and I feel like I'm playing the fence heavy this podcast, but it could very well, make music landscape a whole lot more competitive by including people who may not be traditionally musically talented into the conversation as well. Like the true artists aren't the only ones that can make good records now. The people who can't sing a lick, but they can write well, and I just need an AI to showcase that. They can play now, and that may be a little bit scary for some of the bigger artists.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think because truth be told, a lot of these artists are not writing their own lyrics.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think because that is so widespread already, that it's kind of natural that you can that's I guess the problem with this from a label standpoint is it's not monetizable yet for them, but this kind of thing is already happening in-house, I assume, for a lot of labels and production teams.
To that point, I wonder if it does level the playing field, right? I'm just talking about for artists here, even writers of music, writers of song. So you have ChatGPT, and it's already known that you can ask it to write you. You say you're in college and you need like a 5-paper essay or a 7-paper essay.
Allegedly.
Let's say you're an artist and you're not gifted with the ability to write your own music, then I feel like that could level out the playing field. And if you're a songwriter and you don't have the singing ability, you can use AI to use your voice to do that. So I guess this answers previous questions from this podcast. Maybe this is the new trajectory of AI and just the music industry itself. Maybe, and under that, I think it's fair. You know, when you think about it from that standpoint. So I don't think the artist would lack anything. If you have the singing ability, you can use ChatGPT.
You
Because
make your career off of ChatGPT. Good for you.
and if you're a songwriter, just use the AI hypothetical app to
Get on it.
you know
Just to
get a nice voice, get a nice cadence, get a nice tone. Sound like Whitney Houston if you want to.
So yeah, I mean, I hate to just be all over the place, but I support that aspect of it. More liberating to the beginner artist, the artist that doesn't have major backing, the independent artist. I feel like that's empowering for them. Again, from the top down, see it as a money issue, monetization, no way to capitalize on it yet. I think there could be a happy medium. I think one of the sad things about it is I think a lot of those artists who would be using the AI technology I think they would be using it to get to that label place to where they could get signed, and it wouldn't just be an independent thing. And I don't think that helped. I'm not saying it hurts music, but at least from an artist standpoint, I don't think it helps. That it would just be a stepping stone to get to where we've always been as artists. But yeah, it's a moot point.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of grit work to change the whole stigma behind this, because it's a new thing, but it's already a stigma behind it. It's like, you know, y'all are cheating your way in, essentially. So like we've been saying, it's gonna be interesting to see how this unfolds. Everything seems, from the music industry, from the financial industry, even the government is trying to access AI technology, and we're just gonna see how all this unfolds as people try to beguile the general public into thinking this when it's really this. So, but any final words on this whole issue?
Keep your head on a swivel. Just don't be beguiled by any
Word
of
of the
these-
day.
any of this fake music.
Well, there's a lot of fake music out here nowadays. You just, like you said, got to keep your head on the swivel, and you never know, who's lurking out there,
Ready to take your ears.
with a hood on and some shades on their computer, typing one sentence. Make a Drake song about love and hate.
Actually, I would listen to that.
You'll listen to that?
Love and hate. Yeah. It's like every Drake song.
Well, I think we had a good conversation today. I think I'm not going to say it's the most needed conversation, but it's a conversation nonetheless about the future
Yeah, I
and what's
think
at
it's
stake here.
Very new, very fresh. I don't think there's a lot of, regurgitated conversations that we just had. I think a lot of that was obviously opinion based on some of the facts that we've read and learned about over the years. So I definitely appreciate the fact that we're able to have such a future-forward conversation about something that's fairly new to us and fairly new to the world as well.
Would you like to do the honors and say what we always say at the end of the podcast?
I'll never say that.
Anyway, I hope you guys have a TEV day where we represent truth, entertainment, and value. I'm going to keep saying it until Chris says it. But would you like to say it now?
If somebody comments, Chris, say that phrase in the comments, I'll say it next podcast.
Anyway, last but not least, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And more emphasis on comment. We're trying to build a community here where we are truthful and you could add value to us. We can add value to your lives, and that's what we're here, and that's what we're about. And we're signing off, and I hope you guys have a good weekend and good week and rest of your days.
Your days. Nothing more.